everybody, and welcome back to the studio for another clay date with me, Desiree. Today I'm going to do a small project on the wheel, and that is to make a lid for this pot that I made on a hump mold. Actually two identical hump molds that I put together, and then I threw a foot ring and a ring for the lid on the wheel before I joined the two halves of the hump mold shape, which I then decorated with these little balls of clay that I just drew down with my thumbs. I actually have a lid for this pot already, but I'm not happy with it, so it's this one. I don't like the fact that you can see the line that goes around the lid. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to throw another lid that fits over the ring of the pot. I'm at the wheel now and ready to start the project. So let me just adjust the camera and you'll be able to see what I'm doing. I'm using a small ball of clay for this. Not really sure what it should weigh because I haven't made a lid like this before, but I just sort of judged what I would need, and if this doesn't work out, I'll adjust it accordingly. I have measured my pot's rim with just the plastic vernier that I have, so I know what the inside diameter of my lid should be, and that's that one. So to get started, we just wet the wheel head a little bit, switch it on there. You don't need too much water. Slap it down nice and tight. I'm just smoothing out any lines. Very happy with that. To minimize distortion, I'm going to leave this on the wheel for a while to get firm. Then I'm going to cut it off, and when it's leather hard, I'll trim it and add the decorations. Hi, I'm back. Eventually I left my lid on the wheel overnight. I covered it with plastic, and I'm now ready to remove it. Let's see how it goes. I'm just placing it on a piece of wood, a wear board. It feels okay. It's still quite soft, so I'm going to leave it on the wear board until it's firm, and then I'll turn it over and I'll trim it. The lid is quite a bit firmer now, and the first thing that I want to check before I start trimming it is whether it actually does fit well on my pot. It does seem to be a fairly good fit, but I'm a bit concerned as the lid still has to dry out completely and there will be some shrinkage. So the problem is that it might actually not be big enough once it's dried completely. I'm going to now trim the lid, and in doing so I think I should also just trim a bit away so that it's a bit more comfortable over the rim of my pot. I have my pot back on the wheel now, and I'm going to trim the outside, and I'll turn it over and I'll trim away some on the inside as well. To begin with, I just want to check that my pot is my lid is centered. That looks much better. I'm just using a standard ribbon tool for this job. Many people don't like trimming pots. I love it. I find it quite mesmerizing and relaxing. I like the shape that the lid now has, so I'll just turn it around and take some of the clay off the inside. I just want to smooth those little finger marks that I made when I lifted it off the wheel. And for that I just use a fairly dry sponge, keeping it gently in place. Good. That looks much better. Let's hope it fits better on the pot. We'll go check quickly. That feels much better. And all that's left to do now is to decorate the lid. To make the decorative knob on this new lid, I'm going to use much the same technique that I used on the previous lid, which is just using 4 balls of clay, small balls of clay that I shape with my fingers. That relates to the ridge around the pot that I made in the same manner. Just setting that aside for a minute. So I'm just starting with a very soft piece of clay. I'm going to roll this into a fat coil. And from this coil I'm going to cut 4 equal pieces. And one more. These pieces I now roll into balls. And then I shape them into more oval sizes so that I give some height to the knob. I squeeze them all together. And now I'm ready to prepare for their attachment. I score the part of the lid where they'll be attached. Add a bit of water. Score the other way around. Right. To make sure that my lid doesn't collapse where I press on it, I put it on a piece of sponge. I add my decoration and I make sure that it is properly attached. Wiggle it around a bit. That doesn't feel too bad. Now what I want to do is each of these round shapes, I want to shape like I did on the pot. So I pull down, do the one opposite, pull down, other one, same story, and the last one. I'm going to clean my finger. And I pull down. Okay. Great. So now I'm just going to remove all the excess. and I start smoothing this down onto the lid. I'm happy with that. The last thing I'm going to do is to take a brush and just smooth these very ends of the knob. That looks good to me. I'll now let it dry slowly under plastic, and then when it's all done, we can put it on the pot and see whether this is an improvement on the first lid that I tried. The new lid I made for my pot is dry now, but unfortunately it is a little too shallow. So this was the original version, which I wanted to change because I don't like that line there sticking out. The lid I made that's too shallow doesn't sit well on the pot. So in the meantime, I've made another one, and that is this one that covers the rim better. So that's it for this pot. Project done. I'll probably glaze both the original lid and this one, and then when it's all done, I'll be in a better position to really say which one looks best. That's it for this video. If you've enjoyed it, please click like or subscribe to my channel if you want to enjoy more clay dates with me, Desiree, in the studio.